Well, it's time again to check in with the helpful finance guy, the Director of Finance, Clinton Sherman, here at the Shelton School District. Hello.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you and talk with you. Last time we spoke, we talked a lot about the financials of the school district, and you had some numbers as you were kind of just new on the position. Saw at the last school board meeting you had been talking a little more, and you're out and about explaining this to folks. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but you said at the last school board meeting that you're anticipating $1.5 million positive cash flow by the end of this upcoming school year?
Yeah, we're projected to have a positive ending fund balance of $1.5 million now.
So what would you say, how do you attribute that pretty massive turnaround in a short amount of time?
Sure. The big thing is pretty quick, decisive action to kind of recalibrate our budget. As we've talked a lot before, education is a people-oriented space. That's what makes the biggest impact in student lives, are caring adults. And they made up about 86, 87% of the budget. 83 is kind of where you want to be, to 84. And that couple percentage points is a couple $1 million. And so there's no secret, last year this time we were bringing a RIF resolution to the board. And throughout that last year we had made some real hard decisions and let a lot of people go. And then we also reduced even more all the materials, supplies, and operating costs budgets. So all the non-employee related costs down to real thin. Everyone's operating real thin right now, and we kind of made that known. And it does feel quick, but our goal for our fund balance, the immediate goal is a positive fund balance, but the long-term goal is more sustainability for the district. So we really would like to have like a $6.5–7 million fund balance. So even at the end of this year at 1.5, we're still a bit away from that. And so it'll take just continued concerted effort. And the staff and the folks we talked to in the unions have understood what's happening here and how important it is to get things turned around to not get in the same situation we were a couple years ago.
I talked recently with our 35th Legislative District Representative, State Senator Drew McEwen, and House Representatives Travis Couture and Dan Griffey. When I talked to Senator McEwen and I asked him about education and funding of education from the state level, he had a whole host of different ideas and thoughts on this one. One of the things he mentioned was the cost the state pays per child was $19,000 per child. I talked with Superintendent Jesse the other day. He said 18, then Representative Couture said 20. And I understand there's a lot of different buckets that the monies come from and go to, but do you have an understanding of what the state representation is per student here?
Yes, and it's not uncommon to have those different numbers, have that number be different when talking to different people. Because there is our general apportionment, our basic ed apportionment dollars, makes up about 58% of our revenue. And then there's other state dollars that come in that have strings tied to them for learning assistance program, for highly capable students, traditional bilingual. They're kind of they're state-based grant programs. And then there's federal dollars that come in as well that are all, of course, have strings tied to them through grant requirements. And so depending on which sources of revenue you're accounting for, that per pupil number can change. If I go to the apportionment report for how much we're allocated in basic education dollars, it's maybe $10,000. So they must be factoring in the other state grants. And I'd have to actually crunch the numbers specifically for that here.
So is that, and this is going to be real basic here, is that mean for every student, the Shelton School District gets that apportionment of let's just say 19,000, split the difference of all three of those guys, or does that money go to OSPI and then that gets broken down into what they do plus the apportionment?
Yeah, let's actually start the other way. So all of Washington State, our taxes all go to Olympia in all sorts of different ways, and that generates the revenue for our state. Some federal dollars come in, that flows through the appropriate state agency. Some dollars are awarded directly to school districts, but most of the time OSPI or another state agency has those dollars flow through them. So actually, I can be more specific. The $10,000 I was talking about for basic education comes to the district for basic ed. But every student could be a multiple revenue driver depending on the services they qualify for. So if you're a basic ed student, which all of our students are, you get $10,000 for those kids. If you qualify for special education services, you get additional dollars. If you get Title I, LAP, bilingual, highly capable, any of these other programs, additional revenues are generated based on the number of students who qualify for those different programs. And so that money, we report our enrollment to the state every month for all those different programs, and then we're paid that from OSPI through our apportionment monthly at the end of each month.
When it comes to your enrollment, and we've talked a little bit about fluctuating numbers over this last year, and then I've talked with folks in the past about this too. Since COVID, people have become aware, I guess, of the fact that you can do this at some point at home. If you've got the skill, ability, and time, I guess, you can do this. How much does that, so that would take away from your overall budget a minimum of $10,000 per student that isn't continued to be enrolled here. So now my question on that is, if you're a family that chooses that path, but they can't offer band or cheerleading, how does that work when it comes to the district?
Yeah, if parents are interested and want to homeschool their child, but that's a great choice for them, and that fits in their day-to-day life, that's great. They can still enroll in our Shelton Schools for if they want to take a PE class or a band class, or a higher level math class is often what you see, and be involved in sports. All that's still possible with those homeschool parents. And what we're looking at, we're exploring it, it's kind of a heavy lift, is actually what's called a parent partnership program. And that allows parents to still homeschool their students. They're enrolled in a program through the school district, and we can help provide them resources and some guidance through that process if they want to. That's what my personal experience with that. We homeschooled our daughter maybe 2nd through 7th grade through a similar program that was really beneficial. And she had some medical stuff that she needed to be home a bit more and was a little more at risk. And so we just partnered with the school and provided that for her. And then after that, stuff cleared up, thankfully. She went to ended regular middle school, and now she's in high school. Yeah.
So if you're in those programs and you come on campus, is it then a percentage of the time on campus that you report?
Yeah, so it's prorated. So if a student enrolls, let's say there's, well, we don't have to do the math, but it's just whatever percentage of their day is here, you prorate it. If they're here for 1 out of 6 periods or 1 out of 5 periods or 2 out of 5 periods, whatever that is, it's just they're just claimed for that period of class or that section of time, and that is reported monthly to the state, and then we receive the revenues for those accordingly. You
go out and about and talk to a lot of different groups about things here financially. What is kind of your elevator pitch on this last year when you walk up and say, hey, I'm Clinton, I'm going to talk to you today about this, and then you kind of briefly outline it before you go into the...
Oh, I don't know. That's actually probably a better strategy than I have now. I don't think I elevator pitch it much, and I'm grateful for all the different groups giving me the time to speak and answer questions. It's been really great to get to know everybody in the community through that. If I were to think about it, I guess I would say, yeah, when I came here, we're made aware that we had some financial struggles and some antiquated accounting practices and some budgeting procedures and processes. And we kind of got together, figured out how we were going to remedy that situation, and came together with a plan to kind of recalibrate our budget and try to move forward for a more sustainable financial future. And so we started moving through those steps. We do know that it'll take a couple of years to do that. I think I've talked my first couple meetings here about the numbers of it are really easy. Like if you think, oh, you have a $2.3 million deficit, you want a $6 million fund balance, you need to cut over $8 million, you'll get there. Right. But in a system like this, to cut $8 million in 1 year would kind of decimate the quality of educational programs being offered here at Shelton. And right now they're doing great work. And so to undercut the work that all of these people are doing just isn't the steps you want to take. So you do it a little slower and move it through. So it'll take, like I said a couple years ago, it will take 3 years, and that to be about right. This year will end in a positive. Next year, that positive fund balance will increase even more. And the year after that, we'll be almost back to normal.
You mentioned, and you can...
I don't know if that's a very good elevator speech now that I think about it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like first floor to 10th floor, maybe. I don't know.
That feels
depends
fair.
how big
that feels fair.
Depends how tall the building is. We can go deeper into this if you want, or if it's not appropriate, that works too. You mentioned antiquated budgeting practices, kind of past
Sure.
what you uncovered as you were here behind the desk. How much do you want to share on like those types of budgeting practices?
Sure.
And when I think about budgeting, I know of two ways, right? There's the cash and there's accrual. And I don't really even know the difference. I've just heard those
Sure.
two terms.
Yes, we are an accrual district. We're too large to be an accrual district. But it's a way you can do it where you can roll over everyone's budgets into the next year. And whatever they had left, you kind of roll into next year, they carry it over. And there's some thoughts about how that can reduce waste because people aren't running at the end of the year to spend all their money.
Uh-huh.
But really that's a budget and a spending culture than a process. So actually the year before I got here, Superintendent Jesse moved into what's called line item budgeting and kind of zero-based budgeting. You identify what your needs are, you justify those needs, we give you a line item for those, we track them every year, track them every month. We meet with all the department leads, see how their budgets are going, see if they need anything more, where there's excess, where they were wrong, because it's just a continual process of trying to understand what this looks like. And then just trying to build efficiencies in operations and in how we deliver different curriculum. Yeah. So it's not that rollover budgets. Well, I mean, it's a pretty old school way to do it. And zero-based line item budget is also, it's just kind of tried and true, kind of more of a best practice way to do it. But like I said, if you get to the end of the year and you're new in your position and you've got $4,000 and you're going to lose it at the end of the year, there can be a lot of anxiety over that. And so instead, we partner with those folks to like, hold on, we only should be buying things that we need. So if you have $4,000 and you made it through your year without needing that money, well, let's talk about that. What does that look like for you? What do you plan to do next year? How do we measure what those purchases, what the impact of those purchases are to the students, to the staff? And so it's just a little bit more formalized process with tying outcomes to what they're spending with.
You mentioned at the beginning of this, about 87% of the monies coming in was roughly around the personnel, the teachers here and staff. I've talked with other school districts in the county that are going through their budgets as well. And I asked them if their numbers, if it seemed like they were on a little more of a better financial footing. And I asked them that if during the COVID days with the ESSER dollars and things like that, where they allocated a lot of their funds. Did they spend it on tangible products to help improve the school? Maybe a new, I don't know, stage for performing arts, let's say, or a new floor for the basketball team.
Whatever was allowable at the time.
Something that you could use it for. Or personnel that you knew at some point, you don't know when, but at some point those dollars from the feds were not going to be there, and you would need to backfill, figure out how to pay for these people. Is that what you noticed when you came here, or how was that?
I would say it was a combination of both. Obviously, that was I hate to say the unprecedented time because everyone was saying that during the time, but at the time, but a lot of stuff was purchased because you had to buy a lot of stuff. The requirement of PPE, and a district our size was a lot of PPE, and a lot of districts did use. There was one or two lines in that ESSER language that allowed you to backfill personnel, basically, and a lot of districts did that, and Shelton did that as well. But what really happened with ESSER dollars is that it delayed the actual impact of McCleary, because everyone was facing this financial cliff, but we didn't know it after McCleary. There was some celebration and then anxiety around what McCleary would actually mean as they moved through it. And that funding cliff was just delayed because the federal government came in and poured more money into schools out of crisis. And what often happened for schools during that time is they responded and built a lot of solutions in crisis with that money, and then it took too long to unwind those solutions when the money was gone. But when I think about those COVID ESSER dollars and what that looked like, it was really just delayed funding cliff from McCleary.
And we've talked in the past where the state monies for educator is around $74,000.
78-ish. Yeah.
And the kind of median current around here is 90-ish, 92.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, money that's not covered at all by the state. That's where you have to find this money.
Yes, and what you're talking about is actually part of McCleary. They changed the funding formulas to fund school districts on the average, as before that there was a state salary schedule that every state had to adhere to. And if you were at the top of the salary schedule, you got top of the salary schedule dollars from the state for it. And if you're at the bottom, that's what you got as well.
So why did that change? I mean, who came in and advocated for the fact that this should go away versus, I don't know, like updating the schedule for inflation dollars? Or, I mean, I guess you've taught for so long and you're at maxed out, and then you've got all your credentials and maybe a master's or a doctorate, and you're at the top, and you're not going to make any more money. Instead of changing everything, it would seem easier just to move the max up. Everybody moves up a little bit every year, or
I agree with you. And one of the byproducts of the state eliminating the salary, it was called the SAM, the salary allocation model, was the state salary schedule. One of the byproducts of them eliminating the state salary schedule was that it forced 295 districts to go build their own salary schedules with their own unions and compete against each other all of a sudden. And that created some variances in salary schedules, and how they were built and how the tri-days took new form.
Is this also, and I don't know, side note, is this also why collegiate coaches are able to make so much money?
No. Collegiate coaches make so much money because, if you, I don't know, I'm going to say these numbers, but I don't know if it's true. Someone listening definitely knows how much the football coach at WSU makes. Let's say it's $2 million a year. He makes $2 million a year because of the
boosters and stuff.
Well, just how many the rights, the TV rights,
Okay.
people coming to games, just the revenue generated from the football program is what generates those salaries. Same thing for basketball and all.
Yeah.
Which is why, unfortunately, like cross country and tennis, those are all track. Actually, there's some big changes to track happened a couple years ago. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation probably.
It is, I think, but and that just kind of popped into my head as you hear about all these folks getting paid so much money to be coaches of these schools, where teachers that go and do the teaching are kind of at a stock level then. So everything changed in there, and then the districts had to kind of fight with each other. To offer best practice or best pay, comparable scales, and come to us and things like that, or else people are just jumping around.
Yeah, I mean, you want highly experienced, highly educated teachers in your workforce because logically they also do the best job in the classroom for the kids. And since we're all here for a student outcome, you want to have a competitive rate. That's just what is necessary. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. I was wondering. It's kind of one of those interesting ripples of the decision that came down. So levies coming out. By the time this airs, the ballots will probably be in people's mailboxes, and whether or not here as the finance director advocating either way, it's important to get the information out there. And so the levy dollars come in, help backfill some of those
the
employment gaps
funding.
And the state funding, continue with the counseling and the activities and all the extra services that help build out a full well child, or whatever you say these days.
Sure. They go to all those things: counselors, teachers, athletics, activities, music, arts. Shelton's really awesome that we have a pool here. That always blows me away when I think about it. All those things that happen are all contingent upon a levy. And so, I just want folks to have as much factual information as they need to make an informed decision. And if they have questions, they can feel free to reach out, see Sherman at sheltonschools.org. I'm happy to take some time and chat with anybody about what this looks like. And why it's needed.
You've been in almost every service group, I think, right?
I've tried to, yeah.
Rotaries, the Kiwanis, the different political party outreaches and things like that. What's the general takeaway from when you walk in? What are you feeling like it's going to be like, and when you leave, how has that changed?
I don't know if it changes. Everyone I've met has been very welcoming, and I just try to provide as much factual information as possible. At the end of each of those discussions, I like to end with a questions answers, of course, and it's probably my favorite part, and kind of address whatever questions they have head on. There's a lot of misinformation, kind of rumors, and early on those were coming up a lot, and we addressed some of those, and it all has been really positive, actually. A lot of folks thanking me for the information, really high on Shelton Schools. Most of the folks I talked to had been here, they went through the system here, they understand how important it is, it seemed to me. And they all seemed to really care about what was happening and what was moving on next. A lot of excitement around the high school programs. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening up at the high school. Some nice energy around the literacy at third grade growth. That was really exciting. So no, I wouldn't say that I walked in and felt one way and then walked out feeling another way. I walked in not knowing anybody, and I walked out knowing more people and hopefully feeling like I did a good job informing them of what was coming up and to help them make a good decision.
The business community was very supportive vocally at the gala as people mentioned the district, so that had to feel good.
It did feel good, yeah. The Ode to 2025 by Mrs. Bacala it did feel great to see a large group of business owners from Mason County also seemingly very excited about what's happening in Mason County, including what's happening here in Shelton.
Clinton Sherman, Director of Finance here at the Shelton School District. Thank you.
Of course, anytime.